Hi, my name is Nicole Green, and I am the co-director of eXtend Tutorial and also the tutor for world history and world literature. I prepared a slideshow for you to hopefully answer some of the questions you may have about this class or these courses, and to give you an overview of how they're going to work. So let's get into it. Okay, first, a little bit about me. Let's meet Mrs. Green. So I have been married for 25 years. I'm the mom of 3 homeschool students. I have 1 graduate and a class of 22 senior and another high schooler. I'm a 16-year homeschool veteran. My students have always been homeschooled, and I'm the author of Homeschool 101, Chart the Course, Enjoy the Journey, and also a homeschool consultant for families across the country. I recently founded a ministry called Homeschool Moms Pray, where we get together monthly for encouragement and admonition and prayer. Okay, so first question I know everybody has in their minds is world history and world literature, 2 credits in 1 class. How on earth will that work? Let's talk about it. So world history and world literature together, how will they work together? On Tuesdays and Thursdays, the 2 classes will meet together as one in a flipped classroom environment in which class discussions will lay historical foundation for the physical settings, people, and times of the literature that's being read, and enhance students' understandings of world history in the context of the rich literature that students will read. Okay, so the 2 things that they have in common are specific works of literature and also the time periods that those works of literature are written and the history that is involved. Let's talk more about it. Okay, what will both world history and world literature students do in class together? So I stated it that way because families have the opportunity to enroll in either world history or world literature, or you can enroll your student in both courses so that they get 2 credits from this experience. All students will participate in class discussions, Socratic seminars, and other large group activities, in team games and other small group activities that facilitate the synthesis of both the history and the historic literature. Notice I'm referring to the historic literature. Okay, so let's talk about world history and world literature separately. Managed separately through 2 Google Classrooms, each of the 2 courses has its own syllabus and coursework, and each course will be graded separately for 2 distinct high school credits. Okay, let's talk about world history. In the world history Google Classroom, students will read from the assigned texts. So there is a textbook and other articles and other assigned things they have to read. They will view slideshows, do research, write essays, and complete assignments that are specific to the historical details of the time period, the event, the person, the era, the movement that we're studying. Okay, world history students will utilize their world history textbook, 4 full-length works of historical literature, primary source documents and speeches, and tutor-curated slideshows, videos, and other multimedia tools. We'll also participate in in-person and virtual field trips. World literature. In the world literature Google Classroom, students will complete projects and other assignments that are specific to appreciating the literary and historical context of the assigned pieces. Annotation, identifying literary devices and their usage, and textual analysis will be expected for each work read. Okay? World literature students will read those same 4 full-length works of historical literature. So if you're in history and literature, you're reading 4 full-length works of historical literature. But then literature students also have several additional works of world literature to read that will include novels, memoirs, short stories, poetry, essays, plays, and speeches. Okay, students will also be invited to in-person and virtual field trips, some of the same ones that the history students are taking. And also world literature students unique to the literature class will be invited to screenings and watch parties of films or performances that are based on the literature studied in this course. So let me give you a little bit of a understanding of how the difference between how the literature students and the history students will work on those 4 full-length works of historical literature. Let's say, for example, the work that we are reading is Night by Elie Wiesel. both this history students and the literature students will be reading this this book. Everyone will be talking about, we'll be discussing and having our activities take place around the Holocaust and life for Jews in concentration camps and all the things that Mr. Weissel goes through in his book. But the literature students will also be looking at that work of literature. They'll be looking at that book from a literary standpoint. So the history students will tackle it and do activities with regard to the historical framework. We'll talk about Nazism. They'll talk about what it meant to be a Jew. They'll talk about all the historical occurrences that were going on around the time that it was written. The literature students in the literature class, they will also talk about memoir, what memoir is, what it means to have, what it means to write a memoir as a genre. We'll talk about his foreshadowing and allusion and other literary specific attributes of that book, so that there's two different courses going on around that one full-length book. Okay. What is expected from students in world history and world literature? Students are expected to behave respectfully and appropriately at all times in class and on any field trips. Students are expected to come to class each class period prepared to participate in the day's discussion. Students need to always make sure they're doing the work at home, so that the work in what we do in class can be facilitated by what they've already done at home. And they need to complete all work on time and follow instructions for turning it in. Okay, how will students be graded and assessed in world history? Let's talk about world history first. So class participation in world history is 30% of the quarter grade. Okay, shyness will not be penalized, but students do need to be prepared to participate. Okay, I am going to ask questions of every student. I am going to expect them to participate in the conversation and whatever activities are going on. Students will be graded and assessed by their parent proctored tests. So they'll have some tests that'll take place at home, and I'll expect that you know that your student is taking a test and you're okay with however they go about taking that test. Okay, and then other homework assignments. Okay, so the homework assignments are during quarters 1 through 3. We'll talk about why quarter 4 doesn't have homework assignments in this particular section, and they will be turned into Google Classroom. The parent proctored tests are 20%. The homework assignments are 20% each. Okay, both 20%. And then the quarterly history projects will round out the grade with the final 30% in quarters 1 through 3. So quarter 1 through 3 has homework assignments, that's 20%, and then history projects that are 30%. The culminating History Day research project will encompass homework for quarter 4 and will be scored at 50% of the quarter four grade. So that there's one large History Day project. It's a research project, and it will incorporate, it will include the homework for quarter 4 will be included in the process of getting ready for History Day. And that's why that, excuse me, that parenthesis is there, should say the culminating History Day research project, and it should be a parentheses, will encompass homework for quarter 4, and it will be scored at 50% of the quarter 4 grade. So it'll be 20% of the homework leading up to it, and then the other 30% will be the grade for the History Day project. Hopefully that's clear. If you have any questions about that, be sure to reach out, and I'll give you that information, how to get in touch with me at the end of the video. Excuse me. Class participation for world literature is 30% of the quarter grade. Homework assignments that will be turned into Google Classroom comprise 20% of the course grade, and then literature projects, including some full-length essays, make up the other 50%. So our literature classes, my literature classes that I teach at eXtend, are heavily project-based. Okay, so we make sure that we understand the literature, we read it, we answer questions, we do homework assignments up leading along the way for each of the works that they read, and then there will be some full-length essays and other projects that they will complete for the full-length works, or maybe a synthesis of all the poetry or something to that effect. Okay. So what can parents expect from world history and world literature? I am the tutor, you are the teacher. I will remind you of this all year. You are empowered to make decisions for your student, even regarding world history and world literature. And if there's any issues, we'll talk about it together. We can be partners, but you are the teacher, okay? You can expect a rich historical and/or literary experience for your student. You can expect opportunities to accompany your student on field trips designed to enrich their lives, the lives of adults and students alike. And your students' understanding to be broadened, and some of their biases towards self and others will be challenged in this class. We're going to learn about people and places that we may not know much about, okay? What else is expected from parents? You need to remember that you are the teacher. Okay. You should remember that you have the privilege of ensuring that your student is working to their potential. I can't know if they're working to their potential because I don't know your student the way you do, but you know that, and you can ensure that they do what they can, right? Sign up for Guardian Summary and keep an eye on your students' grades and progress mid-quarter. So Guardian Summary is, if you're not familiar, is a tool of Google Classroom that allows parents to have a bird's eye view into the classroom. They send you a report, and it lets you know how your student is doing on work. Okay. And then remember that it is your job to communicate any issues with me, with the tutor. Okay. All right. So how should students prepare for world history and world literature? Before class begins, you want to assemble all required books and materials. You'll have a materials list. It will list all of the historical works. So it'll list the history textbook, and you'll have all of the literary books that need to be read, the 4 historical books, whatever you need, it'll be listed in the document that is our curriculum document. As of the recording of this video, those things are not there yet. I'm waiting for boxes to come from Amazon, but once I get them and make a decision, they will be listed. I will have that information listed as literary books will be chosen from this list, and that list will not be final until April. In April, I'll make sure it's final. I'll make sure you'll have that information in your welcome letter, and then you can go back to the document, peruse that information, and the students should be prepared by assembling all the required books and materials before class starts. Okay, you want to make sure your students should learn to type and use Google Docs and Google Slides. Students will access their eXtend email accounts and get signed into our Google Classroom, and students will complete the assigned summer reading and writing assignment. Very brief, maybe 2 or 3 hours tops, but it helps to get everybody on the same plane about world history and world literature when we start classes in September. So you'll have that assignment in August. Okay, parents should prepare again by pre-reading and perusing the materials. You'll have that information by early April. You should ensure that your student learns to type and use Google Docs and Google Slides. So if that's not something they know how to do, this summer is a good time to teach it. And you need to discuss both class expectations and parent expectations with your student. Okay, so whatever it is you expect, those things you should discuss with them, and also what I communicate that I expect from our syllabus and the welcome letter. Okay. If you have more questions, and I'm sure you might, it's possible, that's okay. Go ahead and contact me at ngreen@extendhomeschool.com, and I'll be sure to answer them straight away. Thanks so much for watching my video.